everyone watching. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, I am not an expert, far from it. In fact, I am learning. These are memoranda to myself, but I think if you watch with me, you might learn something too. And if I make a mistake, although I don't like being corrected, I should appreciate it. So please leave a comment below if you have any advice for me. Thank you. Here we go. So I set this up for myself yesterday. It's a simple code for the PIC10F200. I forgot to include the header. Now, I was watching one tutorial on the PIC10F200s, and the guy did not even use a header. So I'm debating as to whether that is necessary. And of course, there is limited memory space for the PIC10F200, so maybe that is a wise decision. No matter, I still have a header, and I forgot to include that in my main sketch, so I'm doing that now. Okay, number sign include, quotation marks, and look at that, my 10F header populates, should, and maybe I'll just give it a save. Save all. And I got an error message. So I will try removing this header, building it and uploading. And I was successful. So there's something wrong with my header. Something. So maybe I just won't include the header and it still works. I don't know. If you're watching, maybe you might agree, it is so difficult to get resource material on good tutorials and lessons for PIC programming. So this is just the kind of thing that happens over and again with MPLab in my experience. I'm sure there is a solution, and I could spend an hour trying to figure out what the problem is with my header. Whatever. I'm wondering if I just delete the header altogether. Just remove from project. Off camera, I hit the build and clean button, and it still successfully built it, so seemed to be okay without the header. After all, the xc.h library is still included here. Alright, so the next thing I'd like to do is build a new project, and I want to basically use everything I've already set up here, as I'm still experimenting with my PIC10F200. So I understand I go to my project, right-click on it, new, one moment, copy, and I just type in a new project name. I will call it project 002, and for reference, here is the file location. I guess I'll go copy. So now the new project appears in the new project window. So now I can close the old project. So I go to close. I don't delete it, but I close it. And when I expand it, my source files are the same as before. So apparently I'm supposed to rename this. I'll call it So I will call it 002. So how do I open this? Left click twice, perhaps? Voila. Alright, so I am just going to try some things out loud. I'm experienced with Arduino, and my knowledge is based on that. So I'm trying to use my C language skills I used there in PIC programming. So just to try a few things on camera. Can I just write down a global variable like this and no warning messages pop up? Say before the void setup. It appears that I can. There's no error messages. Okay, build and clean worked. Let's upload it. And I can vouch off camera that the program works fine in my circuit. Alright, so I've been experimenting with global variables. I think I'll just get rid of this. I was seeing if I could add a new name to, say, GPIO bits.gp1. Now this is probably already like an xc.h library name, so that's complicated if I start assigning it a new name. I don't know if that works. I think I'd like to try giving the delay, which I understand is a macros and not a function, because I watched a tutorial that said that. So I wonder if I put a value in here that is like a global variable assigned value. So I'll try that now. So I typed in int. I created a variable called delay time, and I assigned it a value of 250. So I'd like to see if I can paste this in to the delay macros and have it work. Well, I don't need to modify my entire code, so I'll see if that works. Virtually, there are no error messages. Let's try one of these and one of these. Programming, verify complete. Once again, off camera, I took a look after the PIC10F200 uploaded onto the chip, and I tested my circuit, and it seems to work. So that's acceptable practice. Okay, well, I'll fix everything here. Bring it back to where it was before. So the Arduino, typically when you open a new sketch, has two functions, void setup and void loop. And you can have global variables at the top. And MPLAB-X seems to follow the convention of most C programming language books I have read, just using the void main. And please don't laugh, because really I am inexperienced. But I'm learning. Alright, so for the moment I have commented all of the code in here out. I have commented it out because I want to try some different code and I don't want to delete this yet. I typed it out from somebody else's video, I won't lie. So I'm adding a main loop inside of the void main. I've got some curly brace issues. I think this just involves deleting this one. So this is some sample code I found somewhere, and it's not using the GPIO bits to set the bits for the different I/O pins. It's kind of, I don't know how you describe this. There's probably a proper jargon for it. But the special function register for all of the bits, doing it that way to set the pins high or low. GP3 and GP2 are set as inputs, and GP1 and GP0 are outputs. So now I'm just sending GP1 high and low by setting all the bits back to 0. Alright, I am showing my ignorance, but I'm trying to understand this. I recognize that this is a for loop, and traditionally a for loop will take several arguments. I get that. So these semicolons in here probably suffice as parameters, if that's the correct term. I don't know. I'm thinking this through out loud. I really don't know. But I'm just trying to understand what is written here from some sample code I found elsewhere. So what I'm creating in this video is what I like to call an information sandwich. This is where I just search for stuff and mash all of the information I get together, and hopefully I will understand it at a later date. But anyway, is a for loop a function? A for loop is not a function, rather it is an iterative statement that had a condition header. For example, the counter I should not be greater than or less than any number n, while I is incremented by a certain number for every loop iteration. So a for loop is not a function, but it does seem to take arguments. And that's what makes it look kind of like a function, although I understand it's not. And I'm just going to cover what a function is for my own sake. So yes, this is the Arduino site, not Microchip. But anyway, anatomy of a C function, data type of data returned, NEC data type. So the data type is first mentioned in a function, then the function name, and then parameters that are passed in a C function. Then curly braces. Well, alright, so what happens if I just put this into the YouTube search? For asterisk, semicolon, semicolon, asterisk, surrounded by quotations. Maybe I can find something useful for my C language code. Oh, this is good. And forgive me, folks, I'm really sarcastic sometimes. I get advertisements for McDonald's. I get this and this and this. I mean, what's happening to the internet? Well, forgive my frustration. I can assure you it's genuine. But anyway, I have made a clean build and uploaded this to my PIC10F200, and it's working. I'll get some footage of that in a moment, and I'll just have to accept that this is a convention for writing for loops without defining the parameters. In Arduino, it was the initialization. So I equals 0, that's a counter and what it's set at. And when it's equal to or less than or equal to 255, that's how long it's supposed to loop for. And then each time it goes through the loop, 1 is added to the counter.